My name is Grant Jamieson, and my story is called Once Upon a Time in Mexico. So, the afternoon thunderstorm had stopped and the rain clouds were breaking, and so I decided to leave my sleepy friends behind and go for a walk in the town center. I was walking down the street, passing many people, dogs, all unfamiliar faces. The only familiar sight that I saw was the golden arches of McDonald's, and lo and behold, who knew that this American icon was going to become the setting for one of the most defining meetings of my life. You see, it's 2008. I'm currently in Tuxtla Gutierrez, Mexico, a city of about 300,000 people, located in the thick tropical humidity of southern Mexico. I'm a curious college student who's decided to basically give up his entire summer plans for making money or hanging out at the lake, and I'm going on a service mission trip to southern Mexico. I know, what was I thinking, right? This was the last summer I would be in college, and from here on out I wouldn't have the typical American college summer that someone would think of. No relaxation, no playtime at the beach. But despite my friends' pleas to stay in Montana, I actually wanted to be in Mexico. My Spanish was así, but my desire to be in Mexico and have an incredible experience was, as I like to say, muy grande. So as I was saying, this afternoon the rainstorms had left, and having been there for 2 weeks already, I realized that the life of the city really came after the rain. So I went out and explored, and I wanted to practice my Spanish and maybe barter with some street salesmen. I literally was standing right outside McDonald's and attempting to cross the street actually when this teenage boy came up beside me and basically tugged on my shoulder and said, "Hey, can I have some money?" I looked at him, and he looked like basically he had just crawled off a rain-soaked bench, but my immediate thought was, where's my wallet? And immediately I put my hand in my back pocket, and luckily it was still there. But on cue again, he asked me, "Do you have any change to spare?" And this time I lie. I say, "No, actually I don't," but of course I did. He insists he hasn't eaten in several days and his stomach hurts. I kind of ignore it. I hate snobs, really, but I really don't even like giving money to people who just ask for money. So, I was asking myself, what am I going to do with this person? As I'm now crossing the street and he's kind of making up every excuse he has. And so now, until now, you know that I'm in Mexico, I'm somewhere near McDonald's, and then I'm being followed by a begging teenager. The main point of the story begins right now, when I finally remember why I'm in Mexico. This was my afternoon off, right? But here I was on a mission trip to serve with the local churches. The day before, we had just been out in the poorest communities surrounding the city, handing out baby care packs to recent mothers and visiting small rural churches and sharing our testimony about how God has changed our lives. We weren't evangelizing, but we never passed up the opportunity to talk with people, to share, to encourage. And now, here I was refusing just to share a few coins with this teenager. So after facing my conscience straight in the face, and obviously losing, I asked the boy if he wanted to eat at McDonald's. Not a strange offer, it was right across the street. And now those large golden arches were staring us right in the face, and it was like a light bulb had just turned on in my soul. He agreed, obviously, and so we ordered. As we walked past people, were stared at by all the Mickey D's regulars, and then we went and we got to talking. So I shared with him what I was doing in his city, and he thought that was bueno. But, I don't know if he understood my Spanglish at first, but actually what I did most was just listen. When he told me almost his entire life story, how he has parents who kicked him and his brother out, and he actually doesn't live in the city that we're in. He actually lives up the mountains, but it gets cold at night, so he comes down into the lower valley to stay warm. So I asked him what he does during his day. He actually goes back to school, and he loves to learn. But he only comes down here on the evenings and weekends, and lo and behold, it's Saturday. And then he gets to saying his parents love him, and he and his brother are just kind of hard to handle. They get into fights, and I can completely understand. My brother and I do the same thing. He asked me a little about my life in America, and So I took this opportunity to share about my life, my family, my faith, all that stuff, and kind of what it means to serve and to love. And now as responses grow deeper, he reveals his spiritual life with me. He says he's gone to Catholic church, but he doesn't necessarily he didn't understand it before, but he'd like to know more. Because, I guess the one thing that really stood out, and I can remember, is that he said, "Estoy curioso," I'm curious, which to me fit him perfectly, because I'm, pretty normal, and here he is listening to me share, and I'm doing the same with him. So as we stood up from this table, I told him if he wanted to know more, he could come to church tomorrow, and I would be there, my friends would be there, and he would actually understand somebody because they spoke Spanish. But most of all, he actually thanked me for the food, and the thing I remember most is that he thanked me just for listening. So recalling the story, I honestly don't remember the guy's name or many of our details of the long conversation. However, this event kept me up all night, and just thinking about what an awesome experience it was. This street boy basically broke all my preconceptions and biases that I had towards him. I had a playbook about street people, about beggars, that clearly didn't fit him and didn't hold true. This boy didn't come to church. In fact, I never saw him again, but he opened up an entirely new dimension that in my life that I really didn't know I was fully capable of. He let me listen, he let me share, he let me learn about him, and he taught me that there are no days off. This story ideally describes who I've become today. My desire to break free and live differently from society's playbook of me has become a passion of mine since that meeting. I went on to serve in greater and more deliberate ways. And in my classroom, I will lead my students with experiences like this to achieve beyond all their expectations. I'm committed to serving, to leading, to following, to listening, and to caring for people who just want to be heard. The boy at McDonald's on that rain-cooled afternoon, he taught me not to fit in to a playbook, but write my own X's and O's, just as he did. And so I'm here to say that my name is Grant Alexander Jamieson, and I write my own playbook.